everyone. Welcome to Mazda U.S. College Prep Webinar, Session 15, the one-of-a-kind exclusive webinar celebrating Mazda Thailand's 72nd anniversary and ongoing support of the Mazda U.S. College Prep Junior Golf Championship Tournament. Featuring 72 U.S. college coaches and partner organizations in 3 weeks. My name is Goucher Naksagun, a senior advisor of AR, the agency college recruit. I will be your host today. And with me is AR Senior Consulting Global Director Kun Jum Juthamat Tajumpa.
Hi,
Let's all watch. Let's all watch a short video recap of previous Mazda U.S. College Prep Junior Golf Championship events. All right. It's time to meet our special speakers tonight from Earlham College, from Goucher College, and Ohio State University. Please introduce yourself and your school. Then I will be asking questions for about 30 minutes. Then I will open up for the questions from the audience. Let's kick it off with Coach Matt Brown from Earlham College. Go ahead, Coach.
Thank you, Goucher. Again, my name is Matt Brown from Earlham College in Richmond, Indiana. I am in my third year as head coach and my 9th year at Earlham College. Interestingly, I started in the math department and 4 years ago got drafted into coaching because I had played college golf and now have my second year as the men's and women's head coach.
Okay, well, math teacher. Next is Coach Matt Shur from Goucher College.
Hello, my name is Matt Shur. I'm the head men and women's golf coach at Goucher College in Towson, Maryland. My background is I played college golf at Stevenson University, which is about 25 minutes from Goucher. I went into the professional side of the golf world where I was working as an assistant golf professional with aspirations to be a head pro. And then 3 years ago, my college coach from Stevenson called me up and was like, "Hey, Goucher's looking for a head coach." And I got into the college coaching world 3 years ago and have been loving it ever since. So I'm just now starting year 4 at Goucher and really excited about it.
Great. Next up is Coach Lisa Strom from Ohio State University.
Hello, everybody. As great as it is to meet everybody, I just want to introduce myself quickly. I played college golf here at Ohio State, had aspirations of playing professionally for many, many years and retiring and going off into the sunset, but college coaching soon became part of my journey as I transitioned out of playing professionally on the LPGA Tour. I got to coach alongside my college coach for 5 years as an assistant coach here at Ohio State from 2011 to 2016, and then became a head coach at Texas State. So I was there for 3 seasons before becoming the head coach at Kent State University here in Ohio as well. Was there for 2 years during that COVID season as well, and learned a lot in those times away for 5 years, and then got the opportunity to come back to Ohio State to coach at my alma mater in 2021, and have been here ever since. So love being back here in Columbus and love being part of this university.
Yeah. must be a great feeling. So thank you, Coach, again for joining us. We'll start off with the questions about the recruiting process because everyone was excited to learn about how coaches get to know the players and what's the decision in making a recruitment offer. Start with Coach Brown. What are the main qualities of the golfers, junior golfers you are recruiting from? What do you look for first?
Well, very first is, will you be a good fit at Earlham College? Earlham is a very highly rated academic school. In fact, we are in the top 10 nationally in best classroom experience. So Earlham is different than most other colleges. So first off, we need someone that's going to be dedicated to the academics first. Then secondly, I always want to find out what kind of teammate will you be, because we're trying to build a culture here that is supportive yet competitive. So those are the first two questions, and then we'll get into the golf at that point.
So those are like requirements, the academic, because they have to be student and golfer. But what do you look for? Is that like statistics in terms of tournaments compared to the potential and character? What's the weight you put on each of the decisions?
Because we are Division III and all of our scholarships are academic based, the academics are the first thing that I look at before we ever look to the golf. So it is one of the things that we have found that grade point average is a better indicator than SAT or ACT scores. So those are the things that I look at first before we ever even have a conversation, is how strong are you academically? Then from that point, we like to have a conversation, find out a little more about the personality, and will you be a good fit at Earlham because of its unique educational structure? And then at that point, we'll talk about the golf.
So for international players, I think it's a challenge. Coach Strom, do you have international players in your team at Ohio State, and how do you evaluate junior golfers who are playing outside the U.S.?
Yeah, we are very international here at Ohio State. Not only our women's golf program, but our student body. So we're a large university. But we take in kind of a very similar approach, right? We want to make sure the academics are in line with what we're doing here. We're competitive in the classroom, so we want to make sure that we have no issues when we travel. A lot of that time management skill as freshmen come in, and maybe the international component is a little bit different with their travel and missing classes for our tournaments. So we want to make sure that they're a well-rounded student, that they can handle the rigors of the travel as they get going. But for me, I love to see players compete before they come to school. Oftentimes that means, traveling internationally for us to recruit. We're fortunate to have a budget that allows us to do that during those summer months, or maybe even the winter time for a trip. But I think that's a big part of it, is to see how a player handles adversity, how a player responds to maybe not a great round or a great hole. And in those recruiting conversations, starting to learn, what are their dreams, what are their aspirations? Do they want to play, beyond college golf? Do they want to go onto the LPGA Tour? If so, then we start to talk about what that means and how our program can help that.
I feel that you really want to get to know the players, not just about their golf scores and such. What about Coach Shur? What do you use, video highlights? Do you actually watch them and the emails that say they sent you? What do you look for when you look into those videos?
Yeah, I think in terms of swing videos, I would say the first thing I would look for is just kind of seeing a swing with good balance and good basic fundamentals. I'm definitely don't put as much of an emphasis on swing as to like short game and course management and just overall kind of tournament scores. I think golf is a unique game where there's not just one correct way to swing the golf club, and I see all different types of golf swings. So as long as the player, it looks like they have good balance and good basic fundamentals, I'm definitely open to recruiting them. But
Mhm.
heavy emphasis on being good at getting up and down and a good putter.
Mm. Mhm. This is another question for all of you, is that getting to know the players, they send you videos and emails and things like that, and you follow them, their performances. But is there anything that is stand out, like you like to see in those communication? And also the same ideas, what are the things that you don't like when you are seeing their information, like red flags or anything? Two
I'll
questions.
take it real quick just to start. One thing I love is their graduation year in any email or in any first reach out or first contact, just so there's certain rules in the NCAA that we at different divisions can and can't respond to at certain times. So we're not allowed to respond back to anything until June 15th following their sophomore year in high school. So that is a big, red flag if they don't have that, because we're really unsure maybe of what their graduation year, especially internationals. It's sometimes harder to understand how their academic year works or what school system they might be in. If they're in an English school system, it's a lot different, so they might understand the academic calendar differently. And then a red flag is being able to tell that mom and dad might be writing the email or sending the correspondence. We, as much as we want to involve the parents in the recruiting process, because we know it's a huge decision as a family on where they're going to play college golf over in the States. But, we want to get to know the son or daughter a lot more than we want to get to know the parents. Doesn't mean that we don't enjoy the interaction or hop on a call and mom and dad are always invited to join in or ask questions. But when you can start to tell that it might be mom or dad pushing kind of like, hey, this is what I've been doing and this is where I've been playing, we can kind of read through those lines pretty quickly. So I love getting on phone calls with kids early, and I try to keep them really short. Those first 15-minute or first calls being about 15 minutes long, just to gauge their interest, gauge if there's good rapport between us. I think if we have a lot of stumbling blocks or there's a language barrier, that really shows up early. And for us, we've got a TOEFL score that we've got to meet, or Duolingo, whatever the English, placement test might be, or language requirement might be. But, we definitely want to make sure that there's that level of English that we can know that they're going to be successful here as a student. And it doesn't mean that, kids can't get better at their English. I know for certain I could not go to Thailand and be fluent in Thai very quickly at all. So I have a high level of respect for the young women that come into our program speaking another language in their foreign language and coming here and being very successful academically. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So, Coach Matt, both Matts, anything to add to that?
I think the one thing that I occasionally get is I'll have a player reach out to me with the distance that they hit the ball, and it'll be like my driver goes 320 yards, my three wood goes 290 yards. I think at our level, at the Division 3 level, we're not playing super long golf courses, and kind of piggybacking off of what I just said, like I don't have as much interest in someone who can bomb the ball but can't get up and down and be a good putter. So yeah, maybe a red flag for me is someone almost bragging about how far they hit the ball. It's a rare email, but it is one that I've gotten, and kind of like I said, I'm a short game advocate.
So the scores
The one
are,
thing that, oh,
yeah.
yeah, the one thing I would add is when the student athletes send their scores, I want to see all the scores, the good ones and the bad ones. One of the things that, most tournament results are online, and when we do our research, we can find out what the score range for a player is. So if players are just sending over their good rounds, that's a real red flag for me.
Or as the kids might say, an ick. If we're talking in their terms, an ick.
Uh,
I'm interested in what Coach Brown said about like TOEFL or Duolingo score. You have in mind like those numbers? What are you looking at? The TOEFL score, Duolingo score, or and also that GPA?
yeah, I don't have the exact numbers from our admissions in front of me right now, but we do also have an English language requirement from and we accept all the major um, programs, the TOEFL, the SAT, the Duolingo, all those, but I don't have the exact numbers in front of me.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Ohio State is 79 for the TOEFL.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Looks
we're
like
the same.
yeah. Ah,
I
okay.
think for
What
Duolingo,
about
we're at 120 for Duolingo, maybe.
uh-huh.
And a lot of
Yeah.
For
schools in the U.S.
And-
are also starting to require a test score. Not every school, but Ohio State in the spring semester of 2026 is starting to require a test score on file as far as an SAT or an ACT.
mhm, mhm.
No
Mm.
minimum, but at least having something on file.
Well, yeah. In the I heard that Matt Goucher is a Division 3, right? How is it different in terms of the admission from Division 1 or 2?
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest difference is we're not able to offer athletic scholarship, but we are able to be quite generous with academic scholarships. And one thing that we're able to do to help an athlete is list them as a priority recruit. So if it's a top athlete, we can list them as a priority recruit, which helps admissions get around to their application quicker and could maybe help them get a larger academic package. But we're not able to offer athletic scholarships. Um, I
Mm,
don't know as much about admissions in the Division 1 and Division 2 level because I've only worked in Division 3. Um,
mm.
but Coach Strom, I'm sure, has more to that.
Yeah. Would you like to add some more,
Yeah, I
Matt?
mean, obviously, on the Division 1 level, the athletic scholarship component is a big part. Recently, the rule changes of max roster limit sizes to limiting our roster to 9 is a number that now all the college coaches have to be more aware of. So that does impact our recruiting through the calendar years because you might only be graduating one kid over the next 2 years. Maybe you have one senior and no juniors. That really then, pushes a lot of the kids into the sophomore and freshman class like we have right now. So our recruiting opportunities for those classes could be smaller, and then some years it could be a lot bigger. So I think doing the research on their side of looking up the roster, if a kid is reaching out to Ohio State, I would encourage them, or to any other school they're looking at, hey, what does the roster look like? Okay, they're graduating one player this coming year. They have no juniors on the team. I'm a junior in high school. There doesn't look to be a lot of athletic scholarship opportunities. So just kind of knowing kind of those things going into it, and then since we're capped at 9, we're going to probably not go to 9 immediately because we're not just going to bring someone in just to fill in a spot, because then that limits our ability to kind of stretch out the classes as they're graduating. We don't want to have 9 kids all graduating 1 year.
Tough. That's going to be tough on coaches. So, recruiting, the admission decision as well as the scholarship kind of go together, right? When you make an offer. Um, for for you, I mean, do you look for tournament titles or anything? And does it affect the scholarship or allocation uh, of financial aids in your team?
At Earlham, it does not. The total scholarship package is solely based on the academic prowess of the student athlete. And as a coach, I have no say in that process. whatsoever. I wish I had the ability like Coach Shur to prioritize, but again, our academics are at such a level that 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 is absolutely our number one priority.
I guess they have to be successful in both, otherwise it's not a good time spent, for coach. Then can I ask Coach Brown then continue with the recruitment of international players and scholarship? For academic, is it going to be tougher for international students to get the academic scholarships? And do they get the same opportunities, basically?
Actually, they have better opportunities than the domestic students. That Earlham College is about 20% international students. And it has been our experience that they are very well prepared for college when they arrive here. So our scholarship opportunities for international students actually exceed the domestic students.
Mm. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. What about the Ohio State? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think our internationals make up about 5% of our student athlete body. I think it might be a little bit bigger in the student body as a whole on campus, but we have a lot of resources around our student athletes to help them make sure they're keeping up academically, and to also support them. Whether it's learning specialists or tutoring for certain classes, there's a lot of kind of overarching help and support in the academics to make sure that they're studying appropriately, if there's any big transition to how they did things in high school. And they also do an intake questionnaire to make sure that, hey, I like to study independently. I like to be in a group. And they learn a lot about them before they even step foot on campus, so that we're well prepared to make sure they're set up for success once they get here.
Mm-hmm. I see that, you have supports for them for academic, but how do you help players develop other skills, like leadership, sportsmanship, because public speaking and time management and things like that? Do you have to have proper training, or is it like be in the process?
I could
Should
talk
I
for
start?
days about this, so I want to make sure I give a little bit of space because I don't want to take every question quickly.
Yeah. I definitely think a big part of our job is developing our athletes into good people. I think golf, the game of golf, it helps you get better in life. Just like putting a heavy emphasis on course etiquette, and just like I really get on our players, just like fixing divots, replacing ball marks, not stepping on other people's lines. Even like after tournaments, I require our team to congratulate the team that won, even if it's not us, and to thank the coach that hosted the event. So just really putting an emphasis on, hey, we're gonna do this with class, and um yeah, I mean, just developing them into good people is, I feel like, half of our job, and I would say I care more about that than developing them into good golfers.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I think it's ongoing. It's ongoing training throughout their time. What
It
is
never
a
stops
typical
either.
never
It never
stop?
stops. If I can add on to that, even in
Yeah,
our
go ahead.
practice sessions, or so we're fortunate to have 2 golf courses here where we can make priority tee times well in advance of the members, and I always remind them that their tee time is not the time to arrive at the first tee. And recently in qualifying, I had to give a 2-shot penalty to a player who was 45 seconds late. And I treated our
Mm,
tee times are treated like tournament tee times. And she kind of looked at me. She was a freshman, still sorting stuff out and trying to get her time management skills a little bit better. But that's how important that
mhm,
those things are to me. And I can guarantee you that she will not be arriving 45 seconds late to another tee time for Ohio State anyway. But those are things that, later on, we've had a player last year get an LPGA Tour exemption into the Blue Bay event in China, and she got a slow play penalty. And that opened her eyes. We had been on her about it since she started with us the previous fall. She played in March in that event. And she's like, now I understand why, you kept on me. And unfortunately for her, it cost her 2 shots in the tournament. Fortunately for us, she learned the lesson and didn't, hurt the team in that situation because she was competing individually in an outside competition. So, I think going back to just what Coach Shur just said, I think we use golf to teach a lot of life lessons, and we use the game. I think oftentimes they put so much emphasis just on their score and not maybe what they're learning through that process. But being able to then have those one-on-one conversations, I love the one-on-one time in our coaching that we get to have with our student athletes, especially when we go into an off-season segment. I love being able to work one-on-one with them. You end up having deeper conversations about what they might dream of doing or want to do and what their experience wants to be like in college. But that's when you can start to build those trust up with your student athletes. And then you can start to kind of push them, as freshmen coming in, they don't really know how to trust you or what you might, be wanting them to do. But it comes down to more of like, hey, if you want to go to these places, then we've got to have a great relationship so that I can help facilitate that.
Yeah, they have to learn, right? I guess coming from high school to college is already a big transition. Can I ask Coach Brown about the transition, from junior golf to college golf? What are the major changes and what are the adjustments that you see, like do they travel by themselves a lot more and things like that you noticed?
The number one thing that I get from our freshmen is the length and the difficulty of the courses that they play in college versus junior golf and in high school. I was happy to see that the NCAA has relaxed some of the minimum requirements for courses in women's golf, to bring in some more risk reward type holes into course setups. But yeah, the number one comment that I get is just not being accustomed to playing courses at the length that they played during junior golf.
Mm-hmm. Do they travel a lot too, right? A lot more than in college. How is it different, and how does it affect school?
We try really hard not to miss any class. Our academic schedule is set up with a window that is reserved for athletics. So no one will ever miss a class because of practice. And then on the rare occasion that we do have a tournament that falls during the week, we just ask everyone to communicate with their professors early, so they can have all of their assignments prepared. But like this semester, we only missed 1 day of class for all our tournament and practice schedule.
Mm-hmm. So what's a week like for your team members? Practice, workouts, tournament competitions. Ohio State.
Yeah, it's busy. And just to echo what Matt said, we don't miss practice for class either. Contrary to popular belief, a bigger school, a Division I school, we might prioritize athletics in terms of performance a little bit more than our peers in Division II and Division III. But we do our best to mitigate and avoid missed class time throughout the semester in competing. But if we're leaving on a Friday, for example, kind of a weekly tournament schedule would be we would depart after class on Friday. We would have a practice round on Saturday. We might play 36 holes on Sunday, compete that final round for 18 holes on Monday, and we would travel back Monday night from wherever we might be. And then Tuesday would be a full off day for everybody, including the coaches. We do need our rest and recharge as well. But then we're kind of back into workouts that Wednesday morning before class. They're heading to class, roughly between 8 and noon or 8 and 1, whatever that looks like for them. They're grabbing a quick lunch after class, coming out to the golf course, and then we usually get practice started by 2 or 2:30, depending on the day of the week. So it is busy. It is very structured for them. And I think that's what helps a lot in the transition, because there's just not a lot of time to get kind of outside the boundaries of like what we're doing, because there's just not that extra time built in. So yeah, and then it's Thursday. We're probably usually playing golf somewhere. If we're not at our home golf courses, we're traveling around to maybe another course in Columbus. Depending on the time frame between tournaments, we might be starting qualifying like we're doing today. We've got a kind of a big gap with one of our players at the World Am. We've got a gap in time in our schedule, so we're starting qualifying for our next tournament. And if we're doing qualifying, we have that set up in advance for them too. So it is busy, it is demanding, and time management, taking care of their academics at night, and getting up the next morning and getting after it again. I think it becomes very boring for them, very mundane, but that is the point. It is kind of a boring process. And we remind themselves when things get boring, that's probably a good sign.
What about Goucher? You have the similar schedule for your team?
Yeah, I think it's similar. It's maybe a little more academic balanced where we have like we'll get 4 tee times per week. Two of our tee times will be mandatory, two of our tee times will be optional. Um, and then we'll have workouts twice a week, and I will do individual sessions twice a week with each player in our simulator room. But I think at the Division 3 level, there's a little bit more of a balance between academics and athletics, whereas Division 1 might be more athletic focused. But yeah, I mean it's still very busy and a lot of tournaments on weekends, a lot of qualifying. So yeah, it's still a lot of golf.
Mm-hmm. Is it competitive in your qualifying for your
Yeah,
team?
it is. We usually do about 3 54-hole qualifiers per semester. Um, this year, for me, there's kind of a clear top three players. So those top three players will be exempt from future qualifyings, but our 4 5 6 7 player will kind of be in the qualifyings going forward. But qualifying will be for me is determined off of a scoring average, tournament scoring average, and also general scoring average. So the guy for us, the guys who are averaging under 76 are exempt, and then the guys who are in the upper 70s range are fighting for those top five spots.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. What about Earlham?
Yeah, we qualify for every tournament. We have some exemption rules based on the previous tournament that if you win a tournament, you're exempt from qualifying for 3 tournaments. If you make an all-tournament team, generally the top 5, you're exempt from qualifying for 2 tournaments. If you finish in the top 20% of the field, you're exempt from qualifying for 1 tournament. Otherwise, everybody qualifies for every tournament.
Mm-hmm. Are they most of the kids, what do they pursue after college? Are they into like regular careers or they go professional? What are the
We
typical choices?
we had 2 of our men turn professional this past year. We had 6 seniors on the roster last year. Um, so I was excited. All 4 either went to the 4 that didn't turn professional either went to grad school or have started their careers with um, very good companies in good positions to start their careers.
Mm-hmm. What about other coaches?
Yeah, we have a lot of business majors and also pre-med nursing majors. Goucher has a very good pre-med program. So I've
Mm,
had players become nurses and doctors. The business majors have gone into finance and banking, marketing. And then I have had some players get into the golf field as well, where I actually had a player recently graduate, and he's now an assistant college golf coach. I have another player that is interning for a sports psychologist. So I do think we see a lot of college golfers want to stay around golf, and that was kind of my path. So that's been great, and yeah, all sorts of different career paths for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say we're kind of a mixture, but probably lean a little bit more towards those pursuing professional golf once they graduate. A big part of our program, though, is graduation. We want to make sure our players leave here with a meaningful and purposeful degree. We always remind them that golf, is a sport that they play, and it can be taken from you very quickly. Whether it's injury, illness, stuff happens, and we remind them of that, not in terms of being, a doomsdayer, but it's more in terms of making sure they understand the reality behind it. It's not to set them up for, hey, here's option B, just in case professional golf doesn't work out. But it's I've had far too many friends. I've had former players that have tried to play professionally and injured a shoulder or gotten in a car accident, or maybe their family situation has changed, and they've got to lean back into what their education was and maybe pursue another avenue. So I've had players become coaches. I've had players become accountants with big firms in Columbus. And then those have gone on to be doctors, and one's graduating early this year to go pursue medical school. She learned that, kind of her first year of college, that she really wanted to go down that route. So again, right, it's about opportunity, whether that opportunity leads you to the LPGA Tour or a great career in something else. Being a mom is a great profession as well. I think that gets highly overlooked. If that's really, where you want to go and what you want to do, who's to say, what your dreams can be. So we kind of try to cultivate that, though, and remind people in kind of a high level elite environment, whether it's your academics or whether it is your athletics. We're trying to be competitive in all of that. And what we've really pushed forward too is the depth of our lineup. And we talked about qualifying briefly with Matt and Matt. But the big thing is they're earning their spots. We talk a lot about earning things in our program. I think in this culture, in this day and age, maybe a lot of things are given to our student athletes. They get a lot of swag. They get a lot of gear. We earn our golf bags every year. They set a personal goal score for them to shoot either in qualifying or at a tournament. If they don't earn it in qualifying, but they do qualify for the tournament, they have an opportunity to earn it at the tournament. If they don't earn it at the tournament, they switch back into their old bag when we get home. So it's a rite of passage really for our team. They're very proud once they shoot that goal score, whether it's 1 under, 2 under, 3 under. A lot of them each year they go one more under par to earn that bag. But it's a very cool thing that's been probably in effect since I was in college. So it's been a long time that we've been doing that. And those are the neat things, I think, that stand the test of time, because as they're looking at each other when they're going out to play around a golf, they know who's earned their bag. They know who's kind of done that. So those are the types of things, though, I think that are super important to look at, what are you looking for in a program and kind of beyond college golf too.
Okay. Well, I think I have one last question before I open up for the audience to ask. Since kids may have options of turning pro, and some will just stay in regular career path, do you support them differently, or do you how you groom them? Are they the same when you coach them, or do you have different approaches for the ones who want to turn pro and the ones who... Yes,
Yeah,
go ahead, Matt.
Oh, sorry.
That's a great question. I honestly hadn't even thought about that. So I would say I treat everyone the same for what path that they're headed to, whether it's grad school or whether it's to a career or whether it is turning professional. In my situation, my assistant coach is a professional. So having never turned pro myself, that I push a lot of that on to my assistant coach for those that do aspire to be a professional golfer, because he's been there and done that. So I rely largely on the assistant coach for that side of things. But I love that question.
Yeah.
Good, Matt.
Yeah, yeah.
Goucher?
Yeah, one thing we use a golf strategy and strokes gain system called Decade, and Decade compares your stats to PGA Tour average or LPGA Tour
Mm,
average. And I've had a few players express interest of wanting to turn pro and kind of just supporting that, but letting them know like, hey, like right now you're averaging this, the PGA Tour players are averaging this. You need to work really, really, really hard to get there. So taking a realistic approach, but also a supportive approach, and I think anything's possible if you put your mind to it, but is it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and you almost have to treat it like a full-time job where you're practicing, 6 to 8 hours a day to get there. So definitely supportive, but also realistic in what they need to do to get there.
I think that's important. Lisa?
Yeah, we use Decade as well, so it's great to hear that other programs out there are using that core strategy and the feedback you get from their statistics. And we remind players, right? Like if you want to go somewhere beyond college golf, you've got to. What got you here is not going to get you there, and a lot of that comes down to the time management strategies and the ability to maybe sacrifice in one area in order to exceed the expectations in another. I feel like you have three things pulling at you in college golf. You've got your academics, you've got your athletics, and you've got your social life. So those three things are going to be what tugs at your time. Whether your social life could mean going to a football game on a Saturday, but it could also mean the time you spend talking to friends and family back home. You scroll on TikTok or Instagram, whatever your choice might be. Those are all your social part. Your academics, obviously, sitting in the classroom, the time spent studying, all those things wrap up into that. And then your athletics, right? We can require in the Division I level 20 hours per week. So that includes your workouts, that includes your time spent playing golf, and it also includes your practice time. There's only 20 hours that we can require and coaches can be present. 20 hours will not get you to the next level. And 20 hours a week is not going to get us to the level where we want to be competing in the Division I space. So we kind of remind our student athletes of that and try to set them up for success to be able to plan their practices appropriately based on those stats that we can look at as we're playing more and more tournaments, and clearly helping them define, hey, what's my blueprint as a player, so that when they turn pro, they're not lost and swimming around kind of trying to find out what that is. So we're really trying to build them up to, by the time they're the senior, they can practice plan themselves, and they can also then know, hey, these are the areas I need to touch on to feel ready for a tournament.
Right. Well, thank you. I think it's time for the questions from the audience. I got one in the chat room. Is it possible that a golfer can transfer from Division 3 to Division 1? Who wants to take that?
That is possible.
Yeah, it is definitely possible.
Does it happen though?
It has happened. It happened one time for me. The player had a very good scoring average with us and had interest at a lower Division I level, and was offered an opportunity to walk on to the Division I team and was able to do that. I do not think they cracked the starting lineup, but they were on the team and were able to make the roster. So yes, it is possible.
And interestingly, in the 5 years that I've been involved with the program at Earlham, we have not had a player transfer in or transfer out in 5 years. So again, kind of leading to you come to Earlham for the academics, and while we compete at a high level, the decisions generally aren't driven by golf.
Yeah, and I would say,
Right.
as players develop at the lower levels, they can certainly explore those options as they might become opportunities for them. But if we're looking to bring in a transfer at a Division I level, we're obviously making sure it's a really good fit for us. We've brought in one transfer in the time I've been back, and have had no players depart. So, I think it's a very unique situation to bring in a transfer. It might be a time where you need it to kind of fill in some holes in your lineup, but it has to be a really good fit. Usually there's a story behind why they're leaving, maybe other than golf. But we've got to do our homework on that as well. And most college coaches are going to reach out to that coach when they do decide to transfer to kind of learn more about the player outside of their golf.
I think I encountered one case when the kid is studying in the UK and would like to transfer to the US. So I think that's a unique case too. But yeah, lots of decisions. All right. If there's any more questions from the audience, I would have one last questions for all of you. How difficult is it for international students, junior? They're young and they're transferring from Asia, for example, to the US. What the advice would be?
One of the things that we have set up at Earlham with such a large percentage of the population here are international students, both within the golf program and the student body as a whole, that we have an incredible resource team set up to help support those students that are coming in both academically and socially, and then what we do within our golf program as well to help support. So one of the things that I say is to be willing to ask for help, because there are all sorts of resources to be able to help you, whether you're dealing with homesickness, whether you're dealing with some other cultural change. With coming to the United States, we do have the resources available for you and to help work through those. And it's been a very successful program.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Matt?
Yeah. I think, piggybacking off of that, I think we put a heavy emphasis on academics, and I told the team at the beginning of the year the best award we can get this season is to receive the highest team GPA at Goucher. Every year, one athletic team receives the highest team GPA, and the last 2 years, our women's team has came in second. So we're very motivated to achieve that. And at Goucher, there's resources to help you get the academic support you need. But at this level, we really put a heavy emphasis on achieving in the classroom first.
All right.
Proud to say that we had the small team GPA, meaning small as roster size, not height, but we did earn the small team GPA award, the highest team GPA in athletics last year. But in terms of, that transition for our international student athletes, there is a global Buckeye group that they get together maybe monthly to talk about different things and just bring those international student athletes together so they can maybe meet someone from their home country or near their home country. They have a lot more in common than differences. And I think the time demands, I think that's a big part of learning kind of how to balance their days. Some seem to be more relaxed in a time frame of expectation, and some are more on top of things. 2 o'clock for some student athletes is a mere suggestion of when practice starts, and 2 o'clock for others is they're there at 1 and they're warming up and getting ready. So we try to kind of meet them where they are to start, but then start to guide them, and their teammates do a great job of, hey, this is how we do things here. Maybe back home it was kind of, everyone shows up around 2 and you're warming up around 2:30 and then we're finally going at 2:45. Here we're actually hitting our first shot at 2 o'clock as if it were a tournament shot. So those types of things to help the internationals. And then, I think we do a great job in the support around our program, but even in the nutrition side, there's a lot of differences in how we have our meals here in the U.S. we travel as a team, so we might be at a restaurant where it's different meals. That way they're learning, hey, I don't really jive with this kind of food. Maybe they've got to work with our nutritionist a little bit to kind of say, hey, I'm used to this kind of stuff. What should I be doing? Maybe I need to get some snacks at the grocery store. I don't even know where to start because there's so many options in the U.S. So I think, we try to figure out what each one needs and then really try to give that support where they might have a little bit of a gap.
Great. Thank you, coaches. That has been a great discussion, and I hope the audience learns a few things and get a lot of inspiration. On behalf of Mazda Thailand and partners, I would like to thank your coaches again for spending valuable time with us and give us insightful information. Coach Matt Brown from Earlham College, Coach Matt Shur from Goucher College, and Coach Lisa Strom from Ohio State University. It has been a pleasure. Tune in again at 9 p.m. in a few minutes and meet Coach Laura Select from Colorado State University and Dr. Eileen Hawkins, head of school U.S. Performance Academy, which is an online education school. For those who are interested, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube in order not to miss great contents and get in touch with us. Our contact person information is up on screen. Wrong slide. Oh yeah, okay. Yes, follow us on Facebook and you'll meet these great team members. For tonight, thank you everyone and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, coach.